Okay. Okay, so here we are. Um, yeah. This is WNDC, NDC. WNDC, NDC stands for We in the Crib, and you ain't in DC. And so hopefully you can go with that, and we'll see. With that being said, I'm hoping that I can have you guys like, share, and subscribe if you feeling frisky. Okay. I'm gonna be at this for a minute. I'm trying to get my head right. Got to fire up my meds, so I'll be coughing. So this will be a trigger warning for all of you COVID people. In my world of self-medicating, coffee. God damn it, coffee. Coughing. Opens the bronchioli and allowing more THC to be absorbed. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. So, this whole thing that I'm at right now is on this whole kind of church vibe, and that preacher, Whitehead, whatever his name is, up in Brooklyn, they got his jury jacked in church by armed, masked people, and then had the nerve to come back with the most notorious people online to be messing with, and then went into a whole fit and rage of everything from homo drama. It can't be phobia, it's drama, and whatnot, all in the name of the Lord. Mind you, all these people are signed, sanctified church practitioners, regardless of their sexual indulgences. And yet, here we are, 2022, man. And myself, like many of you, may have possibly been privy to, have grown up in the church environments we as people of color in this country have been accustomed to having, and it's many different municipalities, it's different genres, areas, and whatnot. Back when there were no raisins in nobody's potato salad or something. Back when our community revolved and existed around our culture, which we believe to be in that kind of what do they call it, kind of in that what's the word, conservative. We didn't want to confirm or deny any gratification or anything of the alternative sexual persuasion, but come ye all, and all came. And yet, for a lot of us, we've lived in our don't ask, don't tell culture longer than any other race of people to date. And so let that be the reason. My man Larry Reid, I fucks with Larry Reid, because, well, see, child, I may not necessarily give off any impression of me having any kind of alternative sexual behaviors or whatnot, but I spank boys. That's what I do. I spank boys, girls, shit, bottoms. You bring it. I'm all top all the time. Alpha Master Pimp, Sir Easy, active dominant in the BDSM leather community since 1978. It wasn't my fault. But I grew up in this culture of church and in this culture of the daytime and the nighttime. And it fed us as people of color, regardless of how uppity you want to try to act like you are, for not necessarily having any fond memories of rent parties or, you know, pastor coming by, or people used to go and pray for so and so, or, you know, the deacons. You didn't know what a deacon was unless you had one in your family. And realizing that this structure of religion and culture is something that allow us to get to where we are, but also has caused us to now digress back from the actual practice of our spiritual strength over our religious practice, and due to the morality and whatnot. I mean, you know, all you had to do is give all the Negroes, all the black folks, all the poor people who ain't got no damn business, everything they want that everybody else thinks that they got, without the conditions or understandings of all of that. And so here we are in the internet age, and everybody's kinky or freaky or this, that, and the other. They're rather on a DL, or they're trying to be out, or they really don't want to really be held accountable for how, in fact, they, you know, are being questioned one way or the other, you know. And I think that's where a big problem has occurred as of late, just due to the mere fact that here we are and we're talking about, if it wasn't this preacher thing, it was what's the little boy and his wife, he cheated on her and all of that, and he's back and he's trying to slide back into there. But you know, all these people now, mind you, you know, I also come from Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta. My aunt introduced me to my cultural fetish, that up until I learned to respect that culture, I never knew there was a sense of respect that came with the folklore of ain't but two kinds of men get a perm, and that's a preacher or a pimp. And yet everybody's got issues with the pimps in the pulpit and all this other stuff like that, and yet all of that got them there. I mean, come on now. We had Bishop Don Juan, Reverend Ike, Sweet Daddy Grace. We had I don't think y'all ready for this, but you gotta be. See, problem is that we got a whole hell of a lot of things we got to own up to as black people. And this is what's really killing, crushing our people, especially our church people, because they play too goddamn much. And no offense to anybody else out there, but if Jesus came back today and he saw all this mess going on, he'd probably say the same damn thing. Y'all play too damn much. Y'all keep talking about how you want us and you want them and you want this and this, that, and the other. But look at you. You can't even pray and know that that prayer directly to. Most times, because in our new day educational state, we do know that the two strongest prayers that a human could possibly expound from their body to whatever creator or whatnot, that means that because they're wasting air and opportunity, is extreme pain or extreme pleasure. And this is where the rubber hits the road on a lot of things. First and foremost, Larry, my man, Larry, I fucks with Larry. What got me is when all of this was going down, he stole this doggone and a jury. Really didn't nobody see how they said, and I'll take that, and I'll take that. Oh, you got any more? Here, let me turn you upside down. They didn't go through all of that. This ain't no robbery. This is a cheap B movie that's allowing, more black spiritually church, clutch they pearl type people to get into this new line of trending topics and building their brand. Amen. Amen. And then realizing that part of the problem that we have in all of this drama, these current trends or whatnot, is that, we all don't have to be forced to be out in the wonderful world of, tell the truth and shame the devil. Because a lot of people ain't trying to do that. They want to live a nice country life and this, that, and the other. And we are the people who, no matter what that matters with them, we are the few people who are actually providing the ability for them to do that. We supporting that. I'm not just an American. I'm also Marine. I'm also indigenous in several strands of my DNA. I'm also black and proud, pro-black and proud. So don't you forget that. And yet, I'm also kinky. I'm also firmly respected in the direction of the LGBTQIA and MNOP. And yet, from the darker end of where I come from, still the words that come out of my mouth are slightly still abrasive to all the other people who now have invited us to the table of diversity. And yet, I can't sit back and spit grits with the Seinfelds without somebody accusing me of a hate crime. Even if it's in the name of the Lord, it's not going to work. And we already know the whoopies and everybody else ain't saved them none neither. And so let's get a little deeper into the subject, because I just got to get it off my head, because this is some, I don't know about y'all, but man, sometimes I do these things not because I got a fetish for, being out on Front Street looking all raggedy and shit. I'm a regular old person. Matter of fact, I'm a maybe slightly even a little bit more eccentric of a person of color. Sometimes people say, yeah, man, you one of those other kind of people who grew up like a black Forrest Gump, or many of us. The ones who, were around politics and education and, partying and bullshit and this, that, and the other. I had people that grew up with the last poets and all these other people in your house. This is before people start writing these people into history. These are people who Dick Gregory used to come into town, and there wasn't no hotels for them to be in, and they needed to be safe, and they'd always be in our house. We had a little roll-out couch. Reason why I remember him more than a lot of the other people who were safe there for a moment in time in the history of some things a lot of you don't understand or give any form of respect for the struggle that got us to be in this, oh my God, of 2022. So, trust and believe. If this topic was worth the topic that it is, Larry Reid, imagine this. Imagine Martin Luther King still being around and jumps into this, I can't believe either that this man had all that money around his neck sitting back there talking about the Lord's this, that, the other, and these boys just walked in and just took it, not a deacon. See, this is how I died. Because the people around me watched and then pointed. I didn't see the deacons point. What kind of deacons you call yourself at? I'm sorry. Let's talk church. Okay? We're going to talk church like we talk a house. We're going to talk a house like we talk black truth. Now, we can believe a lot of things, but what we can't believe is that this little robbery of this little Brooklyn boy, balling on his loot and whatnot, having a queen fight with the other queens, writing their little thing, and look, I'm going to tell you this, I spank boys. I didn't say I spank sissies. I said I spank boys. Because beyond anything else, every real man likes a little bit of man pain. It's not that, they have to get it and then fall in love with the person that gets it. But, that's what the whole gladiator understanding is. And there are women out there that are struggling with the mere fact that they have that instinct too, but they can't understand why does it exist, because they're not capable of understanding this. White folks, not just regular white folks with Tom and Julie from around the way that works down and shipping. No, I'm talking like those 1%er type up in the, things. These people, they too busy owning y'all, providing, doing these things that at that point in time, they can't get into all of the other, where you been? Why you smell like ass? No, they just can't. No, it's not that time for that. You don't believe me? Right now, one of the best doggone books that could ever be read by a woman, a black woman, about loving a man and living on. The story from Eddie Long's wife. The Juanita Bottoms story. This little preacher story. The Larry Reid story. Ooh, Lord Jesus. Now, this is the real of this, because for a lot of people that are in that market, they really honestly believe that when they're off the pulpit, they run the gratitude of being able to spit grits like a lot of other people sitting up there. And believe me, I'm not saying this because I'm hating. I'm saying this because I've been asked to be in a lot of the places that some people just been fighting hard to be in, and I just can't do that because the church is an organization. It's a structure of something that doesn't even exist on paper enough for us as black folks to shun that enough to shame the devil and tell the truth. But live it like they live it. Ain't no better gangster than a gay gangster. Let's get that over with right now. When somebody is so gangster that it don't matter what sex or this, that, and the other you are, they still gangster. They could give a... You want me to tell you the ultimate gangster spiritual person? Jesus. The only thing Jesus didn't do is have sex. So nobody could confirm nor deny how he felt. And yet, all those Christians owe the man who loved Jesus the most a debt of service, just due to the mere fact that he's the one who bought his body back, bought somebody else's tomb, laid him up in there, washed him, cleaned him off and adorned him, and then put him in the shroud and closed up this tomb. Dominus ominous to say too, and walked away. Now, we ain't going to get into the rest of Easter right now, but we're going to get into the mere fact that these are typical standard little things that black folks that are at a certain type of, don't you say that. That's blasphemy. No, blasphemy is any one of you black people sitting back there and actually getting the memo, hey, Jesus is back and he's throwing a coming out party. And y'all thought it was just a coming out party, like a coming out party. I mean, like he's back and he's out. No, you weren't expected to walk up to the door and knock on a door. And Jesus says, yes, my child, I've been waiting for you. And he opens the door and he's butt naked. All he got on is sandals and a smile. And you know it's Jesus. But you weren't ready for the coming out party. And that's where it started, right at the door of your salvation. And this is something that black folks can't see as about that time that we've been able to become the same things that we used to hate about how these forefathers got away with making us so much of a different, special kind of mutated version of somebody who's not been allowed. Culturally, they can't get up off of it. It's instinctively embedded into them. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is just about as doggone deep, if not deeper, than whatever the excuse was that the Jews used for the whole Holocaust. And I'm not bouncing on the Holocaust. I'm just saying they got a whole rack of shit on there, and we just got the African American Museum, in D.C., and it just happened. But don't let that be the reason why you feeling some kind of way about this conversation, because we talking about this little black boy. Talk about this, that, the other. I've seen his wife, too. Ooh, cute little wife. I just can't imagine. Oh, I'm sorry. I think that we have grown in the world of church and its religious fortitude. We have grown way too far out and away from the marvelous ministries of black men like Adam Clayton Powell, like Reverend Ike, like, oh, come on, man. Like Martin, no, I mean, you could go deeper with all of this. Like Little Richard, like Shaka Zulu, like, like Idi Amin. Well, you mean he was crazy too? Yes. He probably had the most fabulous parties of everything else, but he was getting it in the world. And it was more about the getting it than it was how he get it. And here we are sitting here having one of those kind of beefs about this dude talking to this girl and this boy over how it was that he got. And they had it, but they got so triggered by him using their sexuality or belittling the word that they couldn't stay on their stance. Letting them punk you out of what you came there to ask them directly. Nah, man, don't skip the thing about how I do or what I do. Squash that real quick and say, let's get back to the mere fact that all they took is y'all jury. I don't see none of the deacons mad as hell because they got their shit too. I don't see nobody asking the question as to why you still taking pictures in all your cars and this, that, and the other. And yet, the jury is the most insured thing you had technically because it's a prop. And yet, I felt the need to come up here and just give this shit out of my chest. This is not about you. This is not me trying to get, watchers or listeners. I have no freaking idea how this raggedy little system I'm using, but I'm thankful for it, has been able to at least assist me in being able to look back and review and hopefully, somehow something, can make sense later on. But I've been really trying to get this out, and I don't really have a lot of people I know, that I could talk to, this, that, and that. I used to entertain hundreds of people in my life, but there were hundreds of people of us, and there's some of y'all out there who can ascertain to this. We've all did that. I mean, this is way past your freak dicks or your this is or that's or this, that, and the other. I have a memory of having been in Studio 54 at 16. I've got a memory of being in Plato's Retreat for a little longer than most people would be like, well, ain't you get so, how did you get to a nap or sleep? And I'm like, nobody slept in 1978 and that was out there in that land. And yet here we are now, still suffering from the mere fact that we dealing with these adult grandparent age. Oh, here it comes. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, girl. If you can see auras. I got a feeling that you'll probably get this one. For that, throw something in my cash out. But this just really gets me, man. It gets me because I grew up in this kind of church life. And I knew that these boys and all these other people were out there. But half of the reason why I left is because my milkshake really do bring all the boys to the yard. Just too goddamn bad that all of them, I mean, I don't think you understand. I've had to quit government jobs because, a higher end people would come out in the bathroom and I couldn't say, I'm flattered, but I'm not gay. Not your kind of gay anyway. As if the thought that they wanted to have something that smelled like something that would really be gaily nice for them had anything to do with the mere fact that I needed a freaking job. And I didn't need to be that deep into anything that got so intense for them. Just see, ooh, girl, I just can't believe he ain't. And you got wife and kids, degrees and pedigrees. You gay. Highly favored. But not the reason, because this is the culture we've grown in as African Americans, as people of color in here, because that was our structure. And it wasn't like these people did it to us. We got what they were trying to fuck with us, and we kept it, and it's been ours. It's been ours like macaroni and cheese. It's been ours like Negro spirituals. It's been ours like that craving to just be let be, but support it. Just give me the same thing we give everybody else. They could or couldn't be ex-murderers, but we're not going to go straight to ex-murderer. For all of them, Jesus. And yet, I'm dead ass. I hate that we're even being provided this lower level of drama that people are trending on. I mean, let's get deeper with all this, because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of playing this, trying to be vanilla with all of these other lifestyle people. I know better than they know themselves. And I ain't got nothing more to, you know, not that I, you know, feel uncomfortable about, oh, that's that, you know, the youth is wasted on the youth. It's actually not. What it's wasted on is a lot of the other people who are now grown elderly who can't understand. It's so not their anything. They're just perpetuating everyone else younger than them with the demands that they need to stop with this. Oh boy, I like P-Valley now because I wasn't on the hype of the first season or whatnot, but now it's accidentally become not just theater or entertainment. It's become message, and we've got so many messages as people of color, not just the ones that are enlightened and got good bandwidth, can watch that and go, who he talking about? But the other, you know, hundreds of people who don't even do this online thing. You know, I ain't heard it, girl, I go to church. Girl, I go to church 5-6 times and make it with that. And that's something that we've had, our own little home, our own little thing where we can fellowship. We can do things that we're supposed to do. It takes a village. It takes a community. It takes, you know, a tribe. It takes all these other things. And yet, you know, the toils of life have been spinning black folks around more than anything else. And it's not that it's been doing that for most of the people who have been a little more on the side of and, but the people who are now getting to that point, the other people who are now starting to come into the light of, hey, nobody really stopping you from making this money and doing right. It's just, what else you gonna do? And we still stuck on, I'm going to church. You know, I'm gonna give my 10%, and yet we still dealing with these others. And I used to remember my favorite aunt. Aunt Jeanette owned the Pink Fox. And I remember when she met me and she said, "Ooh, you got a pretty hair. Why don't you come on down to the salon?" You know, the whole nine. And that was her initial connection on keeping tabs on her sister, her favorite sister, who had left a whole life of existence to such a realm that, you know, her most strongest mantra was, I'm tired of my children growing up in this political stuff. I want to take them home where they can have a regular life. And so we went from collegiate to crunk. And, you know, and every time that she would, you know, sit me down and do my hair, which at times was almost 2-3 times a week. It wasn't that my hair needed to be done 2-3 times a week, but she might have needed more time to check up and whatnot to make sure that we was all right. And we got all right, all from the time we got there, when everybody else who's ever known us never had odds on, oh, they're going to be somebody when they get down there. And in the meantime of that, we were able to be like, not necessarily hidden, but like on witness protection. Not witness like witness, but like being a witness. And right now I'm trying to be a witness on this side of this pulpit of our people who've been playing with these other queendom bullshit entertaining shit. Tyler don't even do that shit on a constant basis, and yet I'm not trying to compete to get out there, name change, this, that, and the other. Any of you people that I've named have ever got the testosterone to want to decide to come down and be in the crib and they ain't, we could talk about that. But right now, what's really getting me is, first of all, we're black. We're proud, and a lot of us hold on to this shroud of what we call "what would Jesus do?" This spiritual base. I'm not religious no more. I'm just spiritual. But we can't really figure out what the spiritual part is to get that right, because the religious shit is more in control of our everyday inability to evolve where we are right now in 2022. And a lot of y'all have a whole lot of catching up to do if you find yourself on this subject and not understanding the humorous pun I just ran out on a whole lot of people that I would hate to have to tell them to their face, because they'd be like, what you calling me? What, you better than me or something? I've been 1.5 times around this planet by accident. And to the majority of the time, I would say that it's been on more of a accidental or occidental VIP in and out kind of thing. So, I can't confirm or deny, and nobody else is going to stop me at my age. But I used to sit down and she would do my hair, and I loved how she used to put that creamy crack in my hair and made me napless. Not just napless, but like Indianapolis. I mean, like hatless. I mean, my hair was so fucking pretty that I've even been published in Beauty Classics magazine, and everybody would swear up and down every last picture of all of the beautifulest hairdos of women, of black women, were women. And I can guarantee you I was at least in a couple of them, but you couldn't tell because I was a young boy with a pretty back and some hair that was like, oh girl, I wish mine can get that way. And I lived through that life, and also lived through the life of, if you want to make some extra money, you can come down to the club, but you got to bring the boy with you. And I grew up realizing that what raised me from the time that we left where we started from was the last really home soul that was left in this area that not so far down the road from Atlanta was where my grandfather was from, Locust Grove, Georgia. His brother, his older brother was named Tom. He's a preacher, but they couldn't call him Tom, so they called him Uncle T.H. I always knew Uncle T.H. Took me years after he died to realize that his first name was Tom, and no respectful black person would call the preacher of their town a Tom. And yet now that many of us have actually had the ability to have read not just the book but the story of, this person that was named Tom, Uncle, would actually have been something that would have changed enough that you would be required to, at any point in time, that somebody would say, oh, you one of them, and you're going, no, let me explain what whoever you think is them. It's not them, and it's not your fault. It's just the stuff that they told you was what it was, enough that I'm trying to tell you something really important. And if you can't let them white folk stuff they put on you go, then you can't understand what Jesus would do if he was also sitting there trying to tell you, baby, if I was you, I'd be looking for the pimples on the booty. And you not understand that while that joke could have been something funny, it's even more deeper if you had to sit back and go, that way you can find out where the monkeypox come from. Whew. Y'all ain't ready for this yet. And yet I got to leave it here. And so I'm leaving it here. Now, This ain't meant for everybody else to go jump on and say, ooh, 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 you know what this other dude said about this, that, and the other? I'm not that kind of person. You know, yeah. And I'm hoping that more of y'all are out there enough to understand how awkward it is to be on this side of the bubble as so many things continually push their way into the reality of the mainframe of our country. Unlike ground central of where, you know, you're still like 6-8 blocks away from the past president of the United States, who just happens to be the same hue as you, and yet, you know, that's that WNDC, and you ain't part that sometimes I just feel the need to just put it out there. It don't matter for somebody to pick it up and go, yo man, that must have been some good weed. Why don't you smoke some more? Because, well, out there in the mainland, I would expect that, and I don't take it as an insult. I take it as a privilege because, well, you talked about, you thought about it. But what gets me so much right now, right here, right now, as I'm sitting back here and I'm reminiscing on that lady, that fox, my aunt, Jeanette, is every time she put me down in that water and she bust them naps, she would say, ooh, baby, ooh, look at your hair. Ooh, you know, baby, what would you like to be a preacher? You should be a preacher. Oh my God, you would be a good preacher. Ooh, baby, you know, and everybody else would. And after a while, you would grow into this kind of custom of them continuously doing this, but you continuously coming back and getting your naps busted. And in the meantime, it gets to a point where it becomes irksome when, you know, baby, but it's the Lord calling you, and this, that, and the other. And for a whole lot of people, they've had to walk into that thing and get up on there and do their thing because, well, I've got nothing else to do, but I'm not you. And I'm trying to share this with you because it's not a bad thing. It's just that you can't make someone of your own genetics see through the stigmas and the triggers that still exist in their genetic form. That's too difficult to explain because each and every one of us are so uniquely undocumented as people of color that we keep making more different versions of it. And the whole rest of the world is going, you know, hey, great concept. Can we get into? And yet there's no embassy for black folks or Negroes. And yet there's the representation of every other kind of embassy for every other person of color who can identify whence they came. And so here we are talking about all this. And I'm not trying to miss on the mere fact that for most folks, they like, oh, but ain't they some flaming gay, this, that, and the other? I'm like, okay, I started this whole blog video thing on the mere fact that, excuse me, I spank boys. I've been raised on that shit since 15, 16. And it was rather that or how was I going to get these boys off of me? Because, yeah, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. But don't let that be the reason. Because back in those times and eras, we didn't have the time to be playing around with, ooh, you love me. No, bitch, this is what you need to probably get when you need to get something to get your ass up and going on some other shit without you falling to the triggers of the genetic quirks that have been built into you from Kunta Kinte. That was never his name. Alex Haley just... And yet, the purpose for all this is the mere fact that it's harder to wake our own people up when right now our people are basically the only thing keeping everything else that we think everyone else has control of in control. And they're sitting there on a hot seat trying to doggone run up the goddamn, you know, market or this, that, and the other just to stay in there. Basically on, well, shit, man, what are we going to do next? What else do you want to do? But they can't just say that to everybody because so far they keep blowing it on putting too much money on some people who basically don't really have the fortitude to keep that investment running at least past a couple of 400,000 plus this, that, and the other while you're already sitting on the back end of some real estate scam shit and this, that, and the other. And you sitting back there going, wait a minute though. So y'all getting mad at all this, and the outboy just said, oh, well, you came from prison. I know for a fact, girl, that you was up in there doing something. Look at you. You too pretty for that. And he's right. And instead of him standing on that kind of shit, this shit really looked more like the Eddie Long stuff when that office lady took them pretty boys' stuff back. No, this is the church's computer. Nope, he said, no, take your stuff back. And this, that, and on this weekend, and it got so hot, Bernice King ran off, and next thing you know, we got the unabridged Eddie Long story. But even Eddie Long was saying, who the hell boy, hold on, wait a minute. You've been on TV, flashing this jury. Okay, I got it. This is some insurance shit. All right. I'm with it if it's like that, but you owe too. Nothing says thank you like cash. And, well, I learned a long time ago that sometimes the flesh is not willing, because it's like when you see those videos with the frog legs that the people would see, and you put a little salt on them and they start doing some shit, and now you're coming up with all this other kind of little things that are now coming up where you're looking at that and you're noticing that this flesh upon flesh, bone on bone shit in the rest of the Homo sapien-ish genre of this rental we have is the ability for it to be in your DNA. You see some shit happening and your whole body decides it wants to be affected differently than you are. Damn well that's not where you was, but you was scared. No, I was not scared. My body just did the ooh. I don't know where it came from. Yeah, your uncle was a Gandhi dancer. That'd be a real funny doggone thing for people who used to drink whiskey and smoke cigars. But today, we can't say that because really, we just don't know nothing past Papa was a Rolling Stone. And wherever he laid his hat was his home if, he liked his men with tits. But we're not going to go there because this is just entertainment. This is WNDC. And I just had to get some of this off my head. And I think I'm, 42 minutes or something into this. I ain't going to lie to y'all, man. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I just had to do this. And I'm hoping that if anybody gets this, you can like, share, subscribe. And, nothing says thank you like cash. Amen. But not the kind of jingles, but the kind that folds. Not because I want it, but because, well, if you ain't doing nothing with it, it's better than giving it to that motherfucker. Keep getting his jury locked up. Oh my God. Okay, I'm done. I need some more reefer, and I'm tired, and I got to get my laundry. It's still in the dryer. Or did I bring it back in? Nope, it's still in the fucking dryer. And I got to run it another time because I know it ain't going to be totally dry. And ain't but one dryer. It's 5 goddamn dryers back there. They all full. Living in the city. Anywho, hey, so this is WNDC. We in the crib and you ain't NDC. And I think if anything else, man, I'm gonna sit on the mere fact that don't matter what you think about this whole thing. It's out of me right now. And so for that being said, I'm gonna send positive energy and healing light to all those who are capable of receiving some and then passing more on. And if we're lucky, we can teach the world to sing in perfect harmony without having to give it a beverage, without having to blame it on the alcohol. And yet, you can rise and shine like the Eagles. Get all dressed up to go down there and watch your pastor get his juries took. And that should not be some black TMZ shit, but TMZ even can't handle black shit. And yeah, Vaughn, shout out to you too. Yeah, it kind of sucks to be black when the final say is not something that allows you to be the most unique person and deserving of it, even if Everybody else like, man, man, I got a cousin, man. Cause you can get that man. Well, what? That's what they did to Jesus. How he got doggone sacrificed in the first place. They was like, psh. It's in our human DNA to actually have that. The more that we are poor, broke, needy, are incapable of basically being able to invest their powers and energy culturally that exist in our DNA. It ain't your fault. This shit is so goddamn deep that while you fear being gone, you're not really even trying to understand, well, if it's gonna happen, then what level of soil and green am I gonna be in? We ain't gonna get into that, are we? And yet, that dude's wife is real cute. She a cutie. But I spank him. She would watch. If he ever lost a bet, she called me by one night only. But boy, oh boy, what a night it'd be. Kind of shit I like to do. No offense. But even Tarantino couldn't handle the level of pearl clutching I'm doing over here while I'm just leaving all of this image of who the hell is, or no, who to thunk it. But I gotta go. So I ain't gotta go. I'm grown. But ain't nobody talking to me. Don't nobody care. I ain't trying to be a bitch about it. But if I was you, you good? End this.